Hey guys, Dov here with another underrated unit for Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer. Today we've got the adorable and terrifying Kroxigors for the Lizardmen. Oh, look at these happy puppies. They are just so ready to go. Yeah, Kroxigors, definitely a pretty solid monstrous infantry choice. They've got heavy armor, not the best melee stats in the world, but they do pretty decent weapon damage with anti-infantry. But definitely 100 armor plus pretty good missile resistance. I guess 15% is kind of basic, but at the same time, that's something, certainly. Got some chameleons, some chameleons over here, supported by a skink chief cohort up front, a couple of red crests on the flanks. Kroxigor Ancient leading the way with a Beastcaster here, up against the High Elves, a staunch line of spears with some Silvern Guard and Spearmen. We've got Plague of Rust Caster here, yep, and also a bunch of archers, Lothran Seaguard, Hogwarts Pride, and Silverhelms on this flank, and I believe there's something similar out on the other flank. But anyway, getting the frontline engagement underway, and the Kroxigors, we are just charging headfirst into spears, which is maybe not the best, but you know, it is what it is. Spears don't do that much armor-piercing damage, so I'm not too worried. The Silvern Guard, on the other hand, with their better AP, are definitely a pretty severe danger. And likewise, right over from Rohan, my opponent here, sweeps up and around with these War Lions. On this unit, they're able to get a pretty good engagement, not to mention the Plague of Rust there, so the Silvern Guard creating even that much better. But here, Manticore drops down. We're going to try and disrupt these archers in the backline. Over here also, this unit of Kroxigors is kind of getting hit pretty hard here by multiple units, so maybe not the best showcase, but we do still have this unit holding in the center, and yeah, the Kroxigors will be pretty key into the late game as I try and sustain this attack here. And of course, the Ancient himself being among that. Yeah, you can see here, this break in the center is really nice for me. I can then push back with these Kroxigors, start to threaten these other archers and so on. And these Lothran Seaguard, these archers are sort of forced to turn and respond there. We're going to be pulling up another Manticore summon here. Oh yeah, did I mention I have a Feral Carnosaur? Teclis, who's leading the High Elves here, is all of a sudden going to be in big trouble as he finds himself fighting the Carnosaur and the Kroxigor Ancient here. But you can see here, we're starting to get some of the Kroxigors back from route. Their leadership's not amazing, but their enrage sometimes will bring them back for you, which is nice. Don't have to worry about the micro, but again, the War Lion's not exactly like a engagement that either of these units are meant to take, but the War Lions will do very well there, very cost effective. In general, Kroxigors, their melee stats aren't amazing, but yeah, as it is, the Carnosaur and the Kroxigor Ancient trying to finish off Teclis here, but actually having a surprisingly hard time. These other Kroxigors here just going to be chewing on the Silvern Guard with the support of the Skinks. When they're fighting on top of the Skinks, especially with that support, they do fight pretty effectively. Meanwhile, out on the flanks here, we've got these Red Crests kind of harassing the Silverhelms. My Chameleons had got charged a little bit by said Silverhelms and by these War Lions, but been able to kind of disengage them, get them up and free here. And you can see this unit of Kroxigors that was up in the backline disrupting has got up to 51 kills, just barely getting routed off for the first time there. So yeah, they're not trolls, unfortunately. They don't regenerate. That would be nice. But they are pretty decent. Here, they're going to get another pitched engagement against these War Lions. Again, not really a fight that the Kroxigors are meant to take. It will largely come down to RNG at this point, though, with both units being so low. But this is just Warhammer in a nutshell. Giant crocodile people with paddles paddling lions. Yeah, it's a bit silly. Anyway, the Red Crest's going to get routed away there. I still have this skirmish force pushing up, and this other rally unit of Kroxigors here is helping to provide mass against cavalry charges and also some heavy mass to punch through and get at enemy skirmishers here, so we're going to use them to continue to push up, try and roll up some of these other units here. This unit of Kroxigors unfortunately gets routed away from the center, but the Kroxigor Ancient still holding for the time being in that little blob there. We have a look kind of across the field. See all of the units on both sides, pretty much, apart from a handful, are still are very tattered, I should say. Including this Feral Carnosaur, not super tattered, I guess. He's down about half HP, but the leadership's not looking great. The focus fire from the archers has been pretty real. That being said, they're starting to run a little bit low on ammo, and these skinks coming back from route can get a great little engagement here, tying down these archers, forcing them out of position. One nice thing about skink infantry, their stats aren't that great, to be honest, but they are very fast, which is an advantage in and of itself, like in that situation there. Yeah, these Lothern Seaguard are going to get caught up in the chameleons here. And, oops, something weird happening with the music there, I'm not really sure, but, yeah, unfortunately those other Kroxigors just shattered, so it looks like we've just got this unit here mopping up some archers, and in a late game situation like this, even these 5 Kroxigors right here are going to be a huge pain for all of these archers, and you can see the Lothern Seaguard just expended the last of their ammunition, so... meanwhile, Teclis is getting terrified away by the Carnosaur. Ancient as well. Ooh, nice Amber Spear. Cuts through a few of those High Elves. Silver and Guard to have magic resistance, but Amber Spear, because the projectile, the way it works, it will just pass through the models and kill them instantly anyway. But yeah, these Kroxigors, oh man, Lothern Seaguard now charging them in melee, that'll probably be the end of those lads, but they did a good job, all things considered. Very, very tattered, super close battle at the end of the day. These chameleons, and especially the Skink Chief here, providing some extra overwatch. Can fire into the backs of these units, and actually chameleon skinks have pretty decent AP values, all things considered, especially because they have a fast refire rate, very fast refire rate. But yeah, 3 AP per shots, you know, on par with a lot of archer units, considering you have a 5-second reload. I mean, that is a lot of DPS potentially. And so even like the Silver Guard, who only have 70 armor, you know, not all of that non-AP damage will be mitigated depending on the dice roll. You still have the AP damage as well, so it's just nice, consistent DPS. Healthy unit of Lothern Seaguard here making a stand against the Pox cohort and the Carnosaur. That Carnosaur doesn't want to stand and fight a healthy unit of Lothern Seaguard, so he's going to pull away. Try and let the Amber Spirit do its work, and somehow we've still got 2 Kroxigors online. 88 kills, just about got an XP chevron there, and they're routing again. That's okay. They've done enough, I think. That Amber Spear pretty much misses, hits the hill instead. So that is unfortunate, but these Silver Guard here getting isolated a little bit. I'm going to realize those units had come back from route and try and get that engagement. Meanwhile, the Carnosaur pushing all these units off the side of the map. It's kind of my one fast unit left, so it can pressure all of these infantry speed units off. Looks like we've got a regrowth on these Silver Guard. Trying to hold them in the fight. They've still got 30 unit models-ish, so that's actually a pretty decent regrowth, all things considered. They may end up doing okay against that Kroxigor Ancient, but I do come in with some Chameleon Skinks. How about Chameleon Skinks with Horn of Kygor up to 44 melee attack? Actually get a nice little rear charge here. They have poison melee attacks as well. No, it's desperate times when the Chameleons are having to rush into melee, but they can in a pinch, certainly. Another Amber Spear there. Detonates a handful from that pocket. Millions really can't hold their leadership together, though. That valiant charge really took it out of them. So poor little boy's going to run on home. And the Kroxigor Ancient comes to say hello to Teclis. Kroxigor Ancient's also a pretty underrated lord, in my opinion. He has a Horn of Kygor, which is an excellent item. A really, really strong item for the Lizardmen. Given that, you know, Saurus infantry especially, but a lot of Lizardmen units have really good weapon strength, they just tend not to have the best melee attack in the world. Kind of usually is like kind of low to mid-level melee attack. That Horn of Kygor, like Kroxigors, are a great example of that. Melee attack's not the best. With the Horn of Kygor, they definitely get a nice damage spike to where their relatively slow attack animations are more likely to hit. So, yeah, just overall fun game. Well played to Rider Rohan there. Super close one. And Kroxigors are a unit, yeah, just kind of in summary, that been using for quite a while. Here, the one especially, 88 kills. The other two kind of got hit pretty hard there, but just even being able to use them kind of as the battle progressed to tie up various forces and just tank out damage. I mean, yes, they'll deal some damage in an ideal scenario, especially, but they're also pretty tanky as well. And the mass is another thing too. You didn't really get to see that too much here, but against like flying units especially, for example, you can pin them in with Kroxigors because they're very heavy. Similar to other monstrous infantry, like sometimes you see Crypt Horrors used in the same way, or obviously for the Beastmen, Chaos Spawn are very much used for that purpose. But yeah, Kroxigors definitely pretty solid. As far as the rest of the build, obviously Feral Carnosaur's pretty good pick as well. Yeah, the Ancient definitely would class him as an underrated lord, as I said. From Rider Rohan's side, Silver and Guard definitely held their own here, as to be expected. I also like the pick of the War Lions. Yeah, I mean, they'll do well against pretty much all of the Lizardmen infantry, as long as you don't like leave them on top of Temple Guard for an extended period of time, and most of the Lizardmen monsters don't have good enough stats to really fight, like Bastillodons, for example, will probably get shredded by the War Lions. Stegodons, depends on if they get the charge or not. Carnosaurs, obviously, with the anti-large kind of changes things. But yeah, overall, I would say Rider Rohan and I were kind of talking in chat after the game, and I just told him the one thing I would say for this build, you could probably just try to bring a Beastcaster with Manticore summons to give you some source of terror. As it is right now, there's no terror here, so that leadership effect from the Rahagor's Pride is not quite as effective as it possibly could be. But anyway, talking a little bit more about Kroxigors, potential synergies. Common, I guess not common, otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it in this video, but a usage that I've seen in the past and actually works pretty effectively, I've used myself and have seen other people use, is to go with the Lore of Light Slon. And to get this one right here, Barona's Time Warp, gives a nice, huge AoE, lasts a really long time too, 50 seconds. You get like multiple units of Kroxigors in a infantry engagement, and against even higher tier infantry with good melee defense, something like, you know, like Ironbreakers or something, they'll still get the damage in with that Barona's Time Warp. And obviously, it's kind of a side note, as I mentioned, Osaurus, really not the best melee attack that... With that buff, they get quite a bit better. Same thing with the Horn of Kygor, right? It's similar to the Barona's Time Warp. It's that standard kind of melee attack buff, and both the Saurus Old Blood and the Kroxigor Ancient have it. I like the Ancient a little bit better because he's a monstrous infantry lord. He's got pretty heavy armor and good HP, and you don't have to bother with mount selections at all. And he has good mass regardless. Not super fast, but he's fast enough for Lizardmen purposes, and this other one here as well, Miasma of Despair, I was spamming this the whole time. Nice little vigor and speed debuff as well. The leadership component too can help with occasional terror routes. But yeah, combining him with the Kroxigors, one of the reasons you might not see Kroxigors too much is because you look here, you're like, okay, I can get a single entity monster that can either heal or drop a pit of snakes, or get one that's just straight up cheaper, you know, all within the same price range. Pay 100 points more and get a very strong charge-oriented monster here. The thing, again, about the Kroxigors is their map presence, their mass, allows them to block units in. They don't necessarily get as much damage done, but they can also tank a lot of damage, as we saw there. Obviously, like, healing them up with, like, Earthbloods and stuff from a Life Slon could be reasonably decent. Yeah, there's just a lot of potential for synergy for the Kroxy boys, so hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. I've kind of rambled on long enough about them. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.